Hello everybody, I'm trapped in a locker, so let's complete another Bloons Tower Defense 6 challenge. Today we're going to be beating Chimps mode with just tack shooters and the hero Etienne. Here are the rules on screen if you want to take a look at them. So the reason I chose the map Resort was because of that little square there that can fit 3 tack shooters all at once. I thought that would be a great way to have like a little ring of death of our own for this challenge. There's not really much strategy to this beyond just getting the tack shooters to their tier 5. I'll explain more about my plans for the later 90s rounds when we actually get to them. But for now, let's just sit back and watch how easy the early game is for 2 tack shooters on this map.
Ready to fly.
Alright, around 10 Etienne, it's off to a great start. I put him down there because we need some more coverage for a good portion of the map. Plus, with his max range at level 16, he actually can reach pretty far up there. As you can see, he's already sort of clipping to that one little spot at the corner. And overall, there's not really much strategy to this outside of just upgrading these 3 and sitting on them for a little bit. So I'll jump back in at round 40 to explain how we beat the Moab.
Drone power. C'est beau. Drone power. Tracking MOAB.
Alright, so as you saw there, beating the Moab wasn't as hard as you thought it would, as you probably thought it would be on this map, because this map loops around about 3 times around that little square, and it's a great place to have high damaging AoE towers like the Tack shooter. So from here, the strategy is more or less to get the Blade Maelstrom, or the Super Maelstrom rather, and just sit on it for the most of the mid game. We'll be relying on its ability pretty heavily to just force back giant clumps of balloons. It also pops leads, which the Tack Zone no longer does, so that's why I chose to put it and the Ring of Fire up front for just that extra bit of damage on DDTs. And with that said, I'll jump back in later to explain more.
Oui.
Alright, so right at round 50, we get our first tier 5, the Super Maelstrom. As you can see there, the ability is super effective and lasts for a long time. So it's basically going to be our crutch for about the mid game when there's massive clumps of balloons coming. And it's also a very short recovery once the effect ends, so we'll be relying on it as well for round 63, which is the only next really hard round we have coming up.
C'est beau. Tracking MOAB. Tracking BFB.
So I originally thought the BFB might be a little bit of a problem, and then, as you can see here, I was very much wrong. One quick use of the ability to clean up all the random balloons that survived, and it was pretty much over. We now have the Tack Zone, which is a great DPS option, even though it's recently been nerfed to lose its lead popping capabilities. So that's why I have it in the back, so that the other two towers can take care of the leads before they get to the tack zone. Although, with DDTs, it's not exactly a given that that's going to happen. But anyway, here we are on round 63, and as you can see, it's doing surprisingly well. I'm using the ability to try and push back the big clumps of ceramics. But overall, with the Inferno Ring in the tack zone, not much is really getting past. So I will jump back in later on, and when we get the Inferno Ring.
Tracking BFB. C'est beau. Yeah.
Alright, so we finally got Inferno Ring. It's a pretty expensive tier 5, but it's pretty powerful and has a decent meteor ability that deals damage to the strongest blimp on screen. I think overall it's just kind of average in my opinion. So from here, the main plan will just be to spam Ring of Fire around the entire map to get as much DPS and damage to the DDTs as possible, because it's the only tier 4 that can consistently pop leads for the Tack shooter. And even then, I don't think it always works 100%, but that's kind of all our strategy can be at this point, so we'll see how that goes from here.
A great time. How it's done. Eyes up. Adieu. C'est beau. DDT, DDT. How it's done.
Alright, so as you just saw right there, the DDTs still got pretty far, so we do need more Rings of Fire to just kind of spam around. And like I said, that is kind of the only strategy we have that can work right now, because of how limited lead popping is for the Tack shooter.
How it's done. Tracking UNG. Oui. DDT, DDT.
Those ones got so far I had to use the Blade Maelstrom as a cleanup. So this can escalate really fast if we don't have enough Rings of Fire.
How it's done. Oui. Yeah.
So 95 was a little bit dicey. We had some getting pretty far, but I think overall, just spamming Rings of Fire right now should get us through the rest of the 90s. Plus, Etienne will be level 20 before too long, and his level 20 ability isn't really strong. So we'll just have to wait and see and hope that we don't have too many deaths when we get to the fortified DDTs on round 99.
Oui? Adieu. Objective? Adieu. That's some serious damage. How it's done? Eyes on that exit.
So as you saw, we just barely leaked to the DDTs.
Tracking MOA.
So we'll have to use Etienne's ability a little bit earlier for some DDT damage and cleanup. And that's basically this run in a nutshell. There's not
Tracking
much
BAB.
I would say is an optimization, maybe some better usage of abilities, but there's not really much you can fix about this run. It's just pretty solid on Resort. If we were doing this on logs or something, it would be a lot more challenging because we wouldn't be able to create that little ring of death right there. But overall, this was a pretty fun one.